सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So today we will begin the Mandukya Upanishad, mantra number 6. Okay. So let's chant it and just see the word meanings and a little bit of the sentence meaning also before we begin to see the commentary. Number 6. Esha Sarveshwara, Esha Sarvagya, Esho Antaryami, Esha Yonihi, Sarvasya Prabhavapyayau hi Bhutanam. Again, Esha Sarveshwara, Esha Sarvagya, Esha Antaryami, Esha Yonihi, Sarvasya Prabhavapyayau hi Bhutanam. So this 6th mantra is also about pragya, which we had studied in the previous mantra, yatra suptona kanchana kamam kamayate, etc. And it ended with pragya tritiya padaha. So the pragya is the 3rd step towards an understanding that there is no real difference between an individual and the total. So pada here means step. Padyate iti padaha. And so there are some steps required to traverse this journey from the Jivatma to Paramatma. And so this, we already went through the first 2 steps and we will revise it today. But this is the 3rd step, which is an understanding of the pragya being nothing but Ishvara itself. So there in the 5th verse, 5th mantra, the pragya was proven to be pragyapti swarupaha, samvit swarupaha. The reality of the pragya is out of any of the 3 states of experience, then the deep sleep experience comes closest to seeing that I am pragyapti swarupaha. So let me now ask you a question, whether you remember this or not. These are all the important points. You should know this in your notes. Why do we call it pragyapti swarupaha? This is my question back to you. Why is the deep sleep state pure awareness. Think about it. Think about, look at, I don't know if you have time to look at the notes, but see if you can recall it instantly. And so our ability to recall these concepts instantly is an important mark of our progress. If we have to look for, let's see, what was said, that means that our understanding is not yet clear enough. But if we understand Pragyapti Swarupaha and we know the reasons for it right away in our mind, then it helps us to sort out the clarity of what is being taught. Again, my question is, in the Pragyaha, why is it called Pragyapti Swarupa? And there are two answers for it, both related to each other, of course. Lack of Vishaya and lack of Abhimana. So what distinguishes the Sushupti Avastha from the Jagrat and the Swapna Avastha is that in the other two, there are Vishayas and their Abhimana. Abhimana means identification, and Vishaya means things that define you as an individual. We saw that the moment you look at a table, the implication of your looking at the table is that you are here and now. So the Vishaya becomes a table, and my identification that I am a human being sitting here in this room teaching is the Abhimana. So that is characteristic of the other two states of experience, the Jagrata Avastha and Sushupti Avastha. But that does not happen in Swapna Avastha rather. It doesn't happen in the Sushupti Avastha. But you are still there without any object and without being a subject of it. It's the pure consciousness. So this is what is called Pragyapti Swarupa. This was discussed in verse number 9, in mantra number 9. Mantra number 6 now says that pragya. So mantra number 6 is also about pragya, but it is not specifically called it out. It is really more like a pronoun. The noun was mantra number 5. Pragyaha iti tritiya padaha. How did it end? Yeah. Pragyas tritiya padaha. So it was specifically mentioned as a pragya. Now it says in this verse, Esha Sarveshwara. Esha means this one. Which one? Pragya. Pragya Sarveshwara. Sarvagya. Esha Antaryami. Esha Yoni Sarvasya Prabhavau Api Ayayau. So let me make sure that. Oh, sorry. Prabhava apyayau. Prabhava means the origination, and apya means to dissolve in it. So it's a pair. Prabhava apyayau. He bhutana. Of all the bhutas, all of the living beings, this one, which means the pragya, is not only pragyapti swarupaha, so it's adding some more things to it, which is really an important thing to see. And I think I had a chance to look at Swami Dayananji's explanation of this verse. Not thoroughly, I'm going to do that again. And also look at Swami Akhandananda's. And I see a slight different way of presenting the same material. There's no right or wrong, but there is a different aspect of it, a different way of expressing. The difference is Ekajivavada. Swami Akhandananda adopts the prakriya. Prakriya means the method of explanation, method of teaching. He adopts the prakriya of Ekajivavada from the very beginning. Whereas in the more traditional Vedantic teaching that I think Swami Dayananji is explaining, because I'm sorry I didn't have enough time. I was just looking at Swami Dayananji's rather in the last half hour or so while I was getting ready for this class. But I could sense that he's not taking the Ekajivavada yet. It will all come in the end, but not in the beginning. That's the difference. So, but I think that the explanations of Swami Akhandananda, in terms of how the Ekajivavada is presented, starts to influence the student's thinking from the very beginning. It's very consistent. This particular mantra that we are going through is an example of that, and I will mention what it means. In fact, without the explanation, one thing I can say right away as an evidence of Ekajivavada. See, just look at this. The words such as Sarveshwaraha, Sarvasya Ishvaraha, the one who is the Lord of all, Sarveshwaraha, Sarvadgyaha, the knower of everything, Antaryami. Antaryami means the inner controller, as Swami Paramarthananda has translated, and yeah, it's a very, very good translation. The internal regulator, Antaryami. Important. We have studied it to a certain extent, and we should continue to look at that. Eshaha Yonihi. Yonihi means the place from which all things originate from. Like a stri's yoni is where all the births of children are taking place. Yoni, sarvasya prabhava apyayau. And so there it is different than the human yoni. This is a yoni. This is a very important thing that we will see. Sarvasya prabhava apyayau. Sarvasya means that not only is the birth of things, but their dissolution also happens in the same yoni. It's obviously very different because in the case of human beings, The death of the human being is not in the womb of the mother. The birth is, but the death is not. But here, this is a very, very unique yoni, that the birth and the dissolution both occur at the same place, Bhutana. So now we have pretty much translated the word and the sentence meaning. Let's read it again. Eshaha means this pragya is not only, you can even add, is not only the Gyapti Swarupa of the mantra number 5. In fact, it is Sarveshwara, Sarvagyaha, Antaryami, Yoni, Sarvasya Prabhava Apyayau hi Bhutanam. So this is what I was saying earlier, how the Ekajiva Vada presents itself right away, because normally you will reserve the epithets such as Sarveshwaraha, Sarvagyaha, Sarvasya Yonihi, etc. to Ishvara. But here the description is for Pragya. So this is confusing. Rather, I wouldn't say confusing, but unbelievable. How can that be? I am not the Sarveshwara. I'm not the Sarvagya. Certainly not the Yoni. Prabhava Apyayo, not there. And how is that possible? What is mentioned? This is the Upanishad, these are the words of Ishvara himself are saying, yep, that's what it is. So this only means it's possible only that fundamentally the two are the same. And this is how it's going to be explained. We are going to spend a lot of time on unfolding mantra number 6. So it is not something which is mentioned and said, okay, let's go to the next one. Sometimes this is how it is taught. You just teach the word meanings and then you say, okay, that sentence is over, let's go to the next one. That's not teaching. Teaching means that you have to present it and then you have to prove it. And so that's our job. We'll be looking into it. So that is what I'm talking about as the Ekajiva Vada. So having presented that, now let's go into the details of it. Okay. Here, the Shankara Bhashya on this particular verse, which will be the basis of the explanation, of course. Esha hi swarup avastha sarveshwara satidaivikasya bhedajatasya sarvasya ishvara ishita na etasmat jatiyantara bhuta anyesham iva. So I won't have the word for word in the sentence one, but it just means that Adi Shankara says, yep, this is how it is. This is exactly how it should be looked at and explained, and we will now look into it at all. Okay. So this is, I think all these classes are, an important one being understanding, but one by one, we should really hang on to the basic ideas and then string them together. Because what happens is that our wrong notions about ourselves is due to our mind posing questions to us that we cannot answer. Like for example, the question would be, Sarveshwaraha, Sarvagyaha, etc. It should be done for Ishvara. How is it for you? Your mind will immediately question that. And you'll say, I don't know. This is what it says. Gone. Similarly, the fact is that the pragyaha is pragyapti swarupaha, it's pure consciousness. And your mind says, what? What do you mean by pure consciousness? What is pure? What is impure? So you'll say, this is what it says in the book, I don't know. But one by one, if you just answer the various queries and doubts of your own mind, you string together a vision that finally defeats the mind. This is what mananam is. It's really the basic of what mananam is. And so that's what needs to be. So here, there are some important concepts that we should really be very aware of, and not only aware of, to keep in our mind. And they're all related to each other. That's what I'm talking about, stringing them together. So listen to this carefully, because this is how we are going to proceed. So what it says is that in the waking and dream state, we give importance to what we see. This is what is called upadhi pradhanata. And Swami Dayanandaji's explanation is excellent. He's really spent, excuse me, what page number is it? I'm just looking at it. So he starts the verse mantra number 6 on Swami Dayanandaji's book on page number 137. And you will see if it is obviously more technical, not as easy to read as Swami Khandananda's book in Hindi. So nevertheless, his explanation of this point is very good and very consistent with Swami what Khandanandaji is saying, which is that in the two other states, if you examine and analyze what is happening, you will see that in those two states, there is the pradhanata of upadhi. In very simple terms, very, very relatable terms, what it means is this. These are very good examples that are given by all the acharyas. Very common examples, but very important examples. Important examples are that a woman who wants to buy some gold jewelry is very interested in buying jewelry, either for herself or for her daughter. And this happens in India all the time, where in the time of the marriage, We know that even before that, the women of the household, they keep on accumulating. Oh, this is for my daughter, this is for my granddaughter, etc., etc. They keep on doing that. And when it comes to the marriage, the women, they go out shopping and they focus on ornamentation. How does it look? Is it fashionable? Is it old fashioned? Is it too heavy? Does it go with all those kinds of things? Does it go with the clothes? Which should we buy? It is all about upadhi pradhanata. Upadhi pradhanata. Upadhi pradhanata. Pradhanata means the importance, the focus, the priority. That's a better word. The priority is that of how does it look? Similarly, the two, if we really analyze the fundamental characteristic of our two states of experience during each 24 hours. Remember, this whole thing is repeated every 24 hours. Just amazing. What a creation by Ishvara. Every 24 hours, you have three different kinds of experiences: waking, dream, sleep. Waking, dream, sleep. In the waking and dream, the priority is what you see. I like this, I don't like that. I wish I could do this. I wish I could go on a vacation. This is what happens. Your mind says, we need to go to Machu Picchu. Why? Oh, it just seems something new, something different. So they all go to Machu Picchu. Then you go to Iceland. Have you been to Iceland? I rail against it. But even I also go on vacations. I think we like to go to Hawaii where the whole family is together. There's nothing much to do and you talk. So that is also a vacation. But really, I'm just exaggerating. But the point is that if you look at the fundamental characteristics of our two states of consciousness, they are all based on what you see. So similarly, when you go to buy ornaments for a marriage, it's very obvious that you are going to give importance to how does it look. Then the weight of the gold, the gold itself also has to be 22 carat or 19 carats. There are different types of gold also. That has to do with the price of the gold, the weight of the gold, and whether you can afford it. So that is a separate thing altogether. So similarly here, there are two things involved in our transactions in life. One is what I see, and the other one is the seer. And in this case, the seer is very interesting because all the seen things come out of it and dissolves in it. This is where all the yonis, prabhava apyayohi, all comes about. So, the sleep state is a sample to show that if you do not focus on what you see, neither is there a focus on the seer. So it's a very interesting sample It's a partial victory towards complete understanding. Partial victory is that what you see does not bind you. There's no Vishaya, there is no Abhimana. Right? So you're only as a seer. But you don't understand that you are the only seer. All that has happened is that you don't get bothered by what you see. But you do not yet appreciate that I am a complete seer. That's why it's a partial victory. But it's a major victory. A very good sample created by Ishvara. It's in the right direction. This is where we have to travel. It doesn't go far enough, that's all. But anyway, the point that I was saying about the important one is, this is what all the Mahatmas say, that if you want to be free, if you really are serious about realizing the purpose of your life, because we are all trying to find out, how can I be totally free, independent? And the way to do that, the steps to do that, these are all the padas. We are looking at all the padas. And so these padas will be all put together in a string as we proceed. These are the steps for us to understand how I can gain total freedom. And an important part of that is the broad hint provided by Ishvara. Important and a very broad hint. The broad hint is, the way to do that is vairagya towards what you see. See means what you experience. Tyagaha. Tyagena ekena amritatva manashuhu parena nakam nihitam guhayam in the Kaivalya Upanishad. So, because we have a fear, wait a second, I want to hang on to some things. I want some company, I want some money. I want security, artha kama, dharma. This is what is called purushartha. So purushartha, as we have already seen, purushartha means Purushanam arthyate iti purushartha. What people really want is called purushartha. Because if we look around, the millions of people that you think about and so on, they're all doing different things. Somebody's doing science, somebody's doing art, somebody wants to be a leader of the party, somebody wants to make money, Somebody wants to start a new company. Everybody is doing different things. And the four broad aspects of what we want to do is artha, kama, and dharma, and moksha. So out of those four, the first three, artha, kama, and dharma, are incomplete. This is what would be called, I think, characterize them as symptomatic relief. When you have some symptoms of some disease, it's important to at least get symptomatic relief. You may not get relief from a disease until you really look into it, but symptomatically you can do it. So the artha, kama, dharma are symptomatic relief, temporary relief. The real purushartha, they are all called purushartha. All of them are called purushartha because they give you some peace, some happiness. However short it might be, but they do give it to you. They should. But the real purushartha is moksha swarupa. Moksha swarupa. And that is your own swarupa. And so that is the fundamental part of all the three states of experience, the turiya that we will study next. And so, that being the case, the way to go forward is to focus not on your experiences, but on you, who is both the experiencer and the experienced. Experiencer is the human being, the body-mind complex. The experienced is the world around us. But there is something which is common to both of them. That is the pragyapti swarupaha turiyaha, the self that we are looking for. And until you find it, it is you. In the more detailed explanations of the Karika, you will see this. Swami Khandananda also says it is also wrong to say that once I have knowledge, I will be free. Wrong. That's not the correct way to look at it. Then, what do you mean? You've already rejected karma. That karma does not give you moksha. Now you're saying that even jnanam also doesn't give you moksha. Didn't you just say that? Yes, I said that, and we will hold on to it. That once you have knowledge, you will be free. Then, what should we do? You are already free. So jnanam is not something there's this object that you have to acquire. This is exactly, when we say this is exactly what we do. We ask people, what have you studied so far? How many Upanishads? Have you studied Bhagavad Gita? Can you recite some of them? Some of the verses? How many times have you studied the Bhagavad Gita? What about some of the other books? How about Upanishads? It looks like jnanam is from outside. I have to acquire it, like, acquiring grapes. It's as though I'm not free now, but if I acquire these, I will become free. This is not true. You're already free. So yes, you have to see that you are already free. Praptasya prapti. But the way one has to go through is, this is a very funny situation that I am really looking for freedom when in fact I'm already free. And so to rely on this truth is the way forward. And the way forward to complete this dissertation is Tyaga, Vairagya. So that's what I was saying, that that's how I took this detour. That my feeling is that if I accumulate a lot of things, because it gives me some hope that if I have accumulated enough things, if I have good house, some money, stocks, company, I'll be okay. But the deeper you go into it, you find that that is just a trap. It's not the way to do that, because Artha, Kama and Dharma are not complete Purushartha, they are just symptomatic. And the way to gain moksha is not to focus on experiences, but to focus on yourself. So this is not Upadhi Pradhanata, but Chaitanya Pradhanata. What is the nature of Yapti Swarupaha? And this Yapti Swarupaha, the closest thing to that you can see is Pragya. And how that is the case, now we will see in more detail. So what it really means is that I need to see that I'm okay the way I am, without any experiences. Because I refuse to see that. I don't feel okay. How can you say that I'm okay? But if you analyze why you are not feeling okay, it is because of some external factors. And your mind is also an external factor. It is also Karya Rupaha, Karya Drishti. That's also what you are seeing. How can you, because you say I don't feel good. How can you say that I'm okay? Because I don't feel good. All right. How do you know you don't feel good? Because I can see it. Exactly. That is still Drishya Sarupaha, Karya Drishti. Here Swami Akhandananda was saying that one time he considers Uriya Babaji as his real guru. Because all these people, they have different gurus. There's no one single guru. So, for example, in Swami Dayanandji's case also, there are multiple gurus for him. Swami Chinmayanandji was the one who inspired him and gave him the idea that you should really study the self. It is worth studying. because I think he wanted to become an Air Force pilot or something like that. And so when he met Swami Chinmayananji, Swami Chinmayananji was very instrumental in turning him around and saying, this is something very beautiful to see. So you can consider Swami Chinmayananji as his guru, very important. Then, but there are certain things that Swami Chinmayananji was not able to convey to him. I'm not saying that he didn't know it, but he did not convey that to him. And what he found was that Shruti is a pramana by itself. This was not clear to him until he met one Swami Pranavananda from Vijayawada. And that showed him, my God, the Shruti Vakya is a pramana. It is a proof. Just like eyes are a proof to see, the Shruti is a pramana for you to see that you are okay. So in that sense, he considers Swami Pranavananda as his main guru. But then doubts come in, it is not strengthened. He was not a Shrotriya at that time. So the Shruti was a pramana, that much he was convinced. But to understand exactly what the Shruti is saying, he needed some teacher. And so he went to near Haridwar, I think it was in Rishikesh, where he met his teacher that taught him all the Shastra, Namasutras, Upanishads, and so on. That was his third guru. And so there are different gurus that people have. Here in Swami Akhandananda's case, he also followed a number of Mahatmas, but the one person who really showed him the very clarity of the vision, he considered him as the teaching guru, is Uriya Babaji. So he says one time on this topic, he was asking Uriya Babaji about life and how to go about it. So he said to him that exactly the same thing, that if you are hung up in the karya drishti, you will continue to be bound. Your hridaya granthi, the knots of the heart, will never open to you. It's kind of like saying, as long as you're dreaming, you're not looking at reality. Jagrata Avastha is also another dream. As long as you are just involved in the daily experiences of life, and that's what all your thinking and your conclusions, your experiences are, then of course it makes sense that you will give up this body, and then you will continue to wander around till you not get there. So then what? There you have to go to Karana Drishti, not Karya Drishti. It is what is the cause of it, what is the reality of it. Then alone you will reach what you want to do. So it's a confirmation of that fact. And so from that perspective, the Antakarana is also a Karya Srishti. Karya Atmakaha, not Karna Atmakaha. And Ishvaraha is Karana Atmakaha, and not even completely Karana Atmakaha, but Karana with Maya Upadhi. Karana is the Maya Upadhi. Ishvara himself is Brahman. It is not touched by Maya. And actually, we will see this a little bit more. So let's continue on with this. So he says, Antakarana is Karyatmakaha, because it is made out of Panchamahabhutaha Satvika Amshaha. And so Antakarana is an upadhi. It's an upadhi for the jiva abhasa, for the jiva. Jiva means there is no real jiva, it is an abhasa. It means that it appears like an enclosed person and a limited person. That's the word I was looking for. Limited person. So it's an appearance of being limited, not a real limitation. Just like we saw that in the room space, it's not a real room space separate from the space. It is the same space, but it appears as a separate person. So similarly here also, the Ishvara is the Karana Upadhi due to Maya. So here now let's look at this word called Anadi. Anadi means what? It means that it never began. Never began. It's like asking, which came first? The body or the karma? So you can see that in order to do karma, good or bad, you need a body. You cannot do karma without a body. And the karma in turn generates a new body based on your punya and papa and all of those kinds of, positive and negative actions and so on. Then in the next life, you are given a new body. So now the question is, which way came first? If you say, no, the body is generated by karma, so therefore karma must have come first, because you cannot generate a body without karma. But you cannot do karma without a body. So this is the chicken and the egg question. And so the answer is, none of them came first. There is no first. It just happens. That's it. This is a very important thing for us to really grasp. And this will be taken up in the Karika a lot. So, for example, to simplify this explanation, if you look at your dream, look at a dream. In a dream you see a father, you see a mother, and you see some children. question is, when did the father and the mother, the two adults in your dream, have a child? When did they have a child? How long did it take them to raise this child? There's not enough time in your dream to all that happens. So it's very clear that what happens is that there is no time. They just pop up right away and they disappear. As we will see, it is something that we will not easily accept. The Jagrat Avastha is also very similar to that. That it is just, it's anadi, it just happens. Even though it now has some semblance to genetics and mother and father and time and so on. But that's also part of the assumption of the Jagrat Avastha. There's no reality to it. You construe having genetics as part of the elaborate dream of the Jagrat Avastha. Anyway, this is a deep topic that will come in the Karika later on, but I'm just giving you the sense of it. And the reason I'm saying is that the word anadi is an important one, because the fundamental part of the non-creation, the so-called creation, is that it is anadi. This is why I think we should make a note of it. This is all from teachings of Swami Akhandananda. Sometimes we feel that the Jagrat Avastha, the waking state, is the reality. Not sometimes, that's how we feel. And the dream is something that is derived from it and is not very important. And indeed, we don't also attach the contents of the dream. We don't consider that to be that important. We also agree with that. But what Vedanta says is, you please see that the dream is much more relevant to your freedom than your waking state. Much more important. You have much more jewels to collect from the dream. Lessons of reality, non-reality. So study the dream more and it helps you. You don't do that independently. Not like saying, okay, just study the dream and let us know what you think about it. No. It draws your attention to the fact that the analysis of the dream is paramount to your freedom, rather than the other way around. We spend most of our time in really, not only, if you look at life, what we spend on basics, on just arthakama and dharma, are very small. But there is a lot of extraneous things that we're doing. About politics and unnecessary really things. We're just getting involved in it. So somehow we give all the importance to the waking state. Instead, if we really look at the lessons that the dream state gives us, we spend that much time thinking about it, because really speaking, the fundamental part is that our freedom comes from vichara. There's no other thing that we have to do. we have to think, and think in a very structured way as the Shastra is suggesting that we do. That's the only way to do freedom. Not money, not progeny, not work, no nothing. Vichara. And that vichara has to be done with the dream. So going back to the word called anadi. So let's look at that for a minute, because I'm not making as much progress as I wanted to. I'm just spending a lot of time explaining. Okay, so here's anadi. Anadi means that we don't know. So if you look at from an individual, we don't know. We don't know what came first. The karma came first or the sharira came first? Or the chicken came first or the egg came? We don't know. There's no way of knowing. You cannot be a scientist, you cannot get a PhD. Supposing there is a university that says, okay, we want to do some research on the origin of which came first. Okay, do some research. What are you going to do? Study which books? Go to Mahatmas and talk about this, that, or the other. Ultimately, you will say, we don't know. So we don't know, so it has two aspects to it. We don't know means that it is shrouded in ignorance. And we can say that it looks like it never began. How can you say it looks like it never began? Okay, fine. You doubt it? All right. Prove that it began. Prove that it began. How can you prove that it began? Because you have to be a conscious person which says, oh, it began just now. It became just now. So that's not possible. That means that there was already a conscious person before everything began. That's not possible. So really speaking, the word anadi means beginningless, has two aspects to it. One is it is shrouded in ignorance. And the second one is that it never really began. So this is true of individuals. So that means that our not knowing the beginning is shrouded in my ignorance. Okay, so this is the individual. Now let's look at Ishvara. Ishvara, when you think about it, not only does an individual have a huge history. I mean, it's a fact that really you cannot count the number of times we've been born and died, born and died, born and died. These 60, 70, 30, 40 year, 100-year segments are infinite, literally. And all those karmas are being accumulated, and they present ourselves, a portion of that is presented in this life. This is one individual. And there are an infinite number of individuals as part of Ishvara's creation. So now let us look into Ishvara. Does Ishvara knows everything? Yes, we should. Because that's how we are defining Ishvara. In fact, one thing very interestingly is that from an individualistic standpoint, there is this dichotomy between paroksha and aparoksha. Paroksha means it's there but I don't see it. And aparoksha means it's right in front of me. I experience it. So the human beings have a paroksha and an aparoksha. But can God have aparoksha and paroksha? No. Why not? Because there is no paroksha for the Gyan, for Ishvara. Everything is known to him. So this is an interesting question. That means, now let's look at anadi. Look at the word anadi. That's what we are really focusing on. If the anadi for an individual is a don't know of the enormity of our background, imagine the enormity of the background of everyone combined together for the Ishvara. How is that possible? Because anadi is shrouded in ignorance, right? Is shrouded in ignorance. You cannot have adi. Adi means a beginning. You cannot have a beginning for a human being, because that means that you, please understand why. This needs to be understood very well. You need to have a proof of the beginning for anything. Like, for example, when the baby is born, there is a proof that the baby is born. We're not talking about babies, we're talking about Atma. When was the Atma born? You'll say, oh, I know when it was born. I was there. You need to be there in order to prove it. That's the one I'm calling Atma. When did that begin? Oh, that one I don't know. I think I was always there. That's exactly what we're saying. So when you say anadi, that means we don't know when it began. Anadi is okay for a human being, but what about an Ishvara? Does Ishvara also have anadi? So let's examine that. So suppose Ishvara has no anadi, because Ishvara knows exactly when it was made. So before that, what was the Srishti? Before the Srishti came in, what was the Srishti? No Srishti means what? So that also doesn't make any sense. So what it really boils down to is that in both the human case as well as the Ishvara's case, anadi is shrouded in ignorance, and the ignorance also is not real. It's not real. It just has an appearance, but it will go. And when it has an appearance, you cannot tell when it began. It has always been there. So the result of that is there are two aspects to this. One is that, and we will go into more detail on this later on, that both pragya and Ishvara are anadi. Both are pragyapti swarupa. Both are sarveshvara, sarvagya, sarvasya yoni, sarvasya prabhavapyayo. Both are the same. And then what are the differences then? So eventually what it comes down to, I'll just give you the introduction to that, is that both are, they're different because of a confusion on the part of an individual and no confusion on the part of the of same thing is misinterpreted. If it is misinterpreted as something which is real, it becomes an upadhi, it becomes an individuality, and when it is seen to be just an appearance without any reality, it becomes Ishvara. And the Ishvara is never under the spell of this. It always knows. So it's a very small difference. This is what Eka Jiva Vada is. And in fact, this is proven very systematically. It is proven systematically that, so we will actually, in the next class, I will try to clarify all these points very clearly clarify that there's no real difference between Sthula Srishti and Sukshma Srishti. And no real difference between Vyashti and Samashti. Those are all just ways of looking at it. That's it. There's no reality to it. It is just exactly, this is just an elaboration of the room space and total space. And it's a matter of simply understanding that one is upadhi based, which is not real. It is not based on any fundamental difference between them. So this is where in the Eka Jiva Vada, the so-called differences between Vyashti and Samashti, between Sthula and Sukshma and Karana Sharira, are all collapsed together and proven that these are simply ways of looking at the same thing. Very beautiful. So we will proceed further with some clarity on all this. Today it is a lot of different things to do, so we'll try to pull it together in the next class. Okay? All right. So with that, I close the class today. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. All right, good. Good. So many of you could join us this Saturday morning. So nice to see that. And have a good day, good weekend. I don't see any questions, so I'll hope to see you in the next class. Hari Om.